Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Start, Sit, and Touchdown Prediction. This is for NFL Week 12 wide receivers. I go game by game, telling you who to start and basically how many touchdowns or how few touchdowns they will score. As always, please, if you could give me 2 seconds of your time for 2 clicks, a like and a subscribe. We have production features from YouTube that are locked until we become a YouTube partner. Things like links, for example. I want to be able to put links on these videos. We need your help to do that. So once again, like and subscribe. We do a lot of fantasy football content. We update daily on this channel. We're growing something really cool here, so I hope you get in on it with us. But let's start now. Thursday night football, Indianapolis versus Houston. Indianapolis, their whole wide receiver core is injured. T.Y. Hilton at this point is questionable. I do not know if he's going to play or not. Let's just assume for argument's sake that he will play. I do like the matchup for T.Y. Hilton. I do have him as a start. I do have him getting in the end zone. If he doesn't play, I think the passing attack, while it still will be active for Indianapolis, moves more towards the tight ends. So if Hilton doesn't play, I think Pascal is worth a start if you're desperate, and I'll get you a yard accumulation, but I do not like Pascal getting in the end zone regardless this week. Guys like Chester Rogers, everybody else for Indianapolis, I do not have getting in the end zone. For Houston, I don't know if Will Fuller is going to play. Will Fuller gives another complexion to this team. He's very important to this offense because he blows the top off the defense, and they have to basically respect his speed, his ability to get out there. That opens things up, deep outs, deep posts, deep flags for DeAndre Hopkins. This offense is better with Will Fuller on the field. As an NFL fan, I hope he plays. Let's just assume both will play. I have both the starts with DeAndre Hopkins getting in the end zone twice. If Fuller does not start, I do not like Stills. I've been burned by him multiple times this season in daily fantasy. He has the potential to get in there. My analytics like him, but I've been burned. He hasn't showed me his ability to come through on those analytics, so I'm just not buying it. I'm sorry. So I have DeAndre Hopkins as being the factor in the passing game regardless, and he's better and improves if Fuller gets in the game. If Fuller does play, by the way, I can't remember if I said if he does play, I think he'll get you yards. I think he'll have like a 4-catch, 120-yard type game. I think he'll get you the yards to warrant the start. I don't know if he breaks into the end zone or not, but he's still start worthy. Carolina versus New Orleans. I have DJ Moore getting in the end zone, the one guy in the passing game that gets in the end zone for Carolina. Curtis Samuel might get you enough if you're in a full-point PPR league. He might get you enough to warrant a start there. I don't love him, though, in my projections. I don't think he gets in the end zone, and nobody else for Carolina. For New Orleans, I think Michael Thomas is a definite start. I think he gets in the end zone twice this week. I do not like Traquan Smith to get in the end zone at all, so they are sits for me. Denver versus Buffalo. Look, Cortland Sutton is having a nice season in spite of all the quarterback shifting in Denver. I think he is a fringe start this week. I don't like him to get in the end zone, but I think he'll get you the yards to warrant the start. I don't like anybody else for Denver, although if Tim Patrick can go, he might be a sneaky kind of budget play in the waiver wire. If you're looking for somebody really cheap to rotate in there, he might get you the yards to warrant it. For Buffalo, let's see here. John Brown is a start, and I think he gets in the end zone. I don't think any other Bill, whether it's Foster, whether it's Beasley, I don't have them as starts or touchdown candidates. Detroit versus Washington. Galladay and Marvin Jones both get in the end zone, according to my projections, one time. I like both of them as plays. Danny Amendola, I also like to start because of catches and yardage accumulation, but I do not think that he will get in the end zone. I think there will be 2 touchdown passes, and they will both go to those receivers there. For Washington, the only player I think on Washington's receiving core to play is Terry McLaurin there. I think that Paul Richardson's still going to be out. We'll see, but I don't like Trey Quinn this week. I don't have anybody else projected to get in the end zone, so it's McLaurin or bust. McLaurin, tomato, I don't know. Let's see, Miami versus Cleveland. Devontae Parker. Look, I don't love him this week. I don't like the projection. I think Miami's going to have a tough time moving the ball against a motivated Cleveland Browns team, although they are missing 2 players now thanks to suspension from their defensive line. So maybe they'll have more ability to run the ball, but I don't like the passing this week. If you're going to pick one, I think maybe Jakeem Grant sneaks in there. So if you're looking for the budget play and daily fantasy, there you go. I don't like anybody on my fantasy team this week, including Devontae Parker. For Cleveland, I do think Beckham gets into the end zone this week. I think he gets in. Last week I was correct with Jarvis Landry. This week I'm calling Beckham. Landry is a fringe start. Beckham is a start. I don't like anybody else for Cleveland to get a touchdown or to be a start. The New York Giants versus the Chicago Bears. I have Sterling Shepard as a play, and I do think he gets in the end zone. I have Golden Tate as a play. I do not think he gets in the end zone. And I think Darius Slay, although I like him quite a bit, I don't like him this week against the Chicago Bears. For the Bears, I have Allen Robinson as getting in the end zone and a start. I don't like Anthony Miller. Taylor Gabriel, to me, is a possibility to get in the end zone. I think he's a fringe start, a great daily fantasy budget play. If you're super desperate at wide receiver, you can pick him off of waivers. He's one of the better waiver candidates, I think, this week. Oakland versus the New York Jets. I do think Derek Carr is going to pass more. I think Tyrell Williams and Hunter Renfrow are both starts. I think they are both touchdown candidates. I think they could definitely get in. I don't like Zay Jones this week, although if there is a week for him to break out in this offense, the matchup's actually really good. So if you're looking for a boom or bust guy on daily fantasy who's going to be inexpensive, Zay Jones is a potential one. But like I said, I like Renfrow and Williams a lot better this week. For the New York Jets, I don't like Robbie Anderson. I don't like Demaryius Thomas this week. They're both fringe starts, but that's based on yardage accumulation. I like Jamison Crowder. It's what Darnold wants to go to, him along with Ryan Griffin. I like Jamison Crowder as the most likely to get in the end zone, and I do have him projected to score. Pittsburgh versus the Cincinnati Bengals. I do see this as more of a run game, but we know Pittsburgh wants to throw the ball. We'll see what happens, which receivers can play. It's like everybody's on the injury report after that rough game against the Cleveland Browns last week. I think James Washington is the most likely to score this week. I have him as a start. I said that last week. Unfortunately, Mason Rudolph threw 4 interceptions, which was overshadowed by the events of that game. But James Washington was the leading receiver. Granted, a lot of people went out. I don't like Deontay Johnson, even if he can go this week. I don't like him this week. And I don't like Juju Smith-Schuster if he can go. So I don't love anybody else. I don't love any of the receivers. Like I said, I think this looks more like a run game, but we'll see what happens. And James Washington is my favorite and most likely to score for the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. For the Cincinnati Bengals, Auden Tate I like more than Tyler Boyd, but look, this Ryan Finley, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be blitzing. They're going to be able to cover Tyler Boyd. Analytically speaking, I don't like it. If there's a touchdown, I think it goes to Auden Tate. I don't like Erickson this week either. Tampa Bay versus the Atlanta Falcons. I do think both teams will pass with success this week. I think Godwin and Evans could both even get in the end zone twice this week. My projection on Jameis Winston is strong. I think more likely 3 touchdowns go between both of those guys, but both are starts for me this week, and possibly both even being worth the daily fantasy budget. For Atlanta, I think Atlanta does really well. Now, I don't know if Austin Hooper is going to play yet. If Austin Hooper plays, I think he has a big game. We'll talk about that with the tight ends. But if he doesn't play, that helps Ridley's value, as we saw last week. I have Ridley and Julio Jones as starts regardless. If Hooper doesn't play, I don't start the backup tight end for Atlanta. I just keep rolling with the receivers there. It just makes the receivers better. So once again, Julio and Calvin Ridley. I love Calvin Ridley in daily fantasy this week, and he actually is on my fantasy team, so I'm going to love him in my fantasy football lineup this week as well. Jacksonville versus Tennessee. DJ Chark at this point is a weekly start. Did you think I'd be saying that at the start of the season? But he is definitely a start. I do have him getting in the end zone once, maybe even twice, but I think more likely once. Cole and I'm sorry, not Cole. I meant Chris Conley, but Keelan Cole's also on this team, and D.D. Westbrook. I have these guys as sits, but I do think that the Jacksonville Jaguars will want to throw about 2/3 of the time. That's what DeFilippo likes to do. That's what they've done with Foles in both games. Granted, they've been losing both of those games that he played, but it worries me for Fournette, but I think Fournette will be more involved in the screen game. I think that, once again, DJ Chark is a definite play. If you're looking for somebody on daily fantasy or you're desperate at wide receiver this week, D.D. Westbrook, I think, is more likely to get a lot of, snag a lot of catches and get you those consistent points of receptions and yardage, in those PPR leagues. But I don't have any of the other Jacksonville Jaguars receivers projected to score this week. For the Tennessee Titans, I don't like Brown. I don't like Davis. I don't like Humphreys. I don't like any of them to start or get in the end zone. I actually have Tennessee, analytically speaking, projected low. If you disagree and you want to start a Titan, I think it's more likely tight ends get in this week than wide receivers, so I'm going to stick with that sit projection. The Dallas Cowboys versus New England Patriots. It's going to be tough sledding. I do think Dallas will be able to pass a little bit. I do think that Amari Cooper, even though I'm sure he'll have a tough matchup against Gilmore there for New England, I do think he's a start. He'll get you yardage accumulation. I don't think he gets in the end zone. I think the touchdown is more likely to go to Michael Gallup this week. I do have him as a start. I don't like Randall Cobb actually this week. I think Dallas is going to have to go to their fourth receiver option, like a Tavon Austin or something like that, or really try to basically juice a rock and get Witten and Jarwin involved if possible. For New England, I have Julian Edelman as a definite start, and I think he gets in the end zone. I'm not sure what's going to shake out with Sanu, with N'Keal Harry, with Jacoby Myers, like all of these guys that they're trying to rotate in. You got to keep an eye on N'Keal Harry. The thing is, I liked Sanu, but with Harry back, it kind of murks that situation a little bit. So I'm going to hold on all of the other Patriots receivers. If you're looking for one more, Philip Dorsett, I think is safe. On the other side, I think it's Harry and Sanu and Myers. We have to really shake out what's happening there. And then obviously Julian Edelman, like I said, is a start. Green Bay versus San Francisco. I don't like the receivers, even Devontae Adams in this game. If you have Adams, I know you're going to start him, and that's fine. And actually have him projected as a start, just not a touchdown candidate. So daily fantasy, don't waste your money there. I'd like to see Lazard used a little bit more. We need to see, and I'm curious, coming off a bye week, what they're going to do to adjust. I mean, it's obvious that the Packers need another receiving threat there. I think it's Lazard. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Geronimo Allison, I've seen enough of them. I think the Packers have seen enough. They need to find somebody else there, and Lazard could be that guy. For San Francisco, look, they're all banged up. Emmanuel Sanders and Deebo Samuel, they are both projected as fringe starts. If they play, I actually feel comfortable starting both of them, although I think the touchdowns go to the running backs this week. I think that the passing game will be active enough to warrant starts there in your flex, or maybe Sanders is your starter. I don't know. Seattle versus Philadelphia. Okay, here's the tricky thing. I think Lockett is a definite start and gets in the end zone. The next one is, I think the secondary, that second receiver for Seattle has great value. Now, the question is that going to be Josh Gordon coming off a bye week? Is that going to be DK Metcalf? Usually I would say DK Metcalf. It really is for you. It's hard for me to know who's going to draw the second most targets at the wide receiver position. If you think it's Gordon, I suggest starting Gordon. If you think it's Metcalf, I suggest starting Metcalf. For me, gosh, I don't know what to do, honestly. It's just a depth chart issue, but I think the potential is there. Maybe you start both of them, but I wouldn't. I would only start one of the two there. Roll the dice on who you think will draw the second most targets. For the Philadelphia Eagles, if Alshon Jeffrey plays, I think he'll play well. I think he'll get in the end zone. I'm not a believer in Aguilar, who's also questionable. I don't know if he'll play. My projections have him as a start, but he drops too many passes for me to feel good about, so I'm not going to play him. I think this is more likely for Philadelphia to move towards the tight ends in this game, especially with some of these guys being banged up. Last game of the week, Monday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens versus the LA Rams. I don't love any of the receivers for the Ravens. That includes Marquise Brown. I think, the tight ends I like quite a bit for the Ravens, but not the receivers. I don't have any projected to get in the end zone. The most likely to get in the end zone is Marquise Brown if he plays a full game. He's been kind of on a pitch count lately, so I'm a little uncomfortable with him. I like his potential. I have him on my fantasy football team, but they just haven't been really giving him snaps and a lot of opportunities since his injury there. For the LA Rams, Cooks and Woods, they should have their full complement of receivers back. I think all three receivers analytically are worth a start. I don't love Cooks this season, but I do like Woods and Kupp to get into the end zone this week, one each there. But I think this is going to be more of a Gurley game than projected, so we'll see how that shakes out. But again, I do start Woods, I do start Kupp. I'm a little hot and cold, even though my analytics like Brandon Cooks. I'm hot and cold on him. I don't love him. I think he's too risky. So there you go. That takes me through all of the games for the wide receivers this week. I also do videos for quarterback, running back, and tight end, so check those videos out. Once again, please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate your support. If you think I'm missing on something or you have a question, please comment below. I'm happy to have a conversation about it. And thanks for watching, and check us out on another video soon. Thanks.